Hi there.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. We survived graduation.
Welcome to everyone who has joined this session. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. And if anybody else joins us, they're free to jump in at any time. I don't have a waiting room set or anything. So I want to start by just saying hello and welcome to Carnegie Mellon University's Campus Engagement Day. My name is Anne-Marie DeGeorge. I'm a career consultant with the Career and Professional Development Center. On this call is also my colleague, Rachel Rosenfeld. Rachel is also a career consultant, and she's going to help me moderate the questions and the conversation today. So in today's session, we're going to feature speakers from programs in the university that prepare students for careers in research and development. Each speaker will present a little bit about their department and about students and their program. And then we're going to turn it over to all of you employers who are here for questions and answers. And because it's a relatively small group, we want this to be pretty informal. It can be a discussion as much as a formal Q&A. We're going to ask you to stay muted during the presentation. Each of our 3 faculty members will give, sort of an informal talk. So you can save your questions till the end, at which point you can unmute and actually ask questions and we can talk in person. But also do feel free to write a question in the chat. If it occurs to you during a presentation, we can keep track of questions during the presentation, but we will address them at the end. Okay, so thank you very much for that. And now I'm delighted to introduce today's speakers. We have Karen Stump from our chemistry department, Jillian Ryan from physics department, and Vincent Sokalski from material science and engineering. So Karen, do you want to go ahead and start us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Karen Stump, as Anne-Marie said, and I direct the undergraduate program in the chemistry department. I'm a teaching professor here and both teach and advise all of the chemistry majors. So in sort of figuring what I would kind of emphasize about our program, I was thinking about skills that are sort of out there as being important in research and development, or skills that I think contribute to our students' interests in these types of careers. So just generally, the chemistry department is about 25 tenure track faculty. There are teaching track faculty. And then the undergraduate population, we're relatively small, about 30 students per class. And we just graduated 32 yesterday. And I think that contributes a lot to some of the strengths of the program as students come out. We do have, if you look at career trajectories, pretty high interest in careers that could be characterized as research and development. So we have students who 25 to 30% go on for PhD programs, varying year to year interest in health professions, but even there manifests a lot with an interest in research, clinical research, or more fundamental as remaining part of their careers in medicine. And then a third go on to employment, which is fairly diverse in terms of the types of things that people like to do. So strengths I kind of looked at in that lead to those interests. We have a very research focused curriculum, which I think gets at things like thinking and reasoning skills, problem solving skills, taking initiative, exhibiting independence. It starts with the very first class, first semester, which is taught in the context of current problems in chemistry, where students are hearing from faculty about research interests where chemistry is contributing to kind of big problems out there, and what kind of role does the discipline play. And they begin even to solve problems posed by those faculties that are significant in their work. They continue that throughout the curriculum. Most chemistry majors take fair number of upper level, graduate level courses by the time they graduate, regardless of career trajectory. And those get them more significantly engaged in, again, those research focused areas. Students are asked to carry out assignments and projects within those courses that require them to think independently about sort of big problems. So one I can think of, we teach a chemistry of addiction course where students are given $10 billion, not really, obviously, but, and they are to solve the opioid crisis, right? So when you think about the skills involved with that, they have to kind of figure out what's the current state of what's being done, where are the problems or opportunities, and where are they going to be both creative in solving the problem, but also realistic in terms of what might be possible. And bioorganic chemistry students have been posed with the idea of how are you going to cure cancer? And again, have to present that, and they have to apply actually for funding. So they go through what you would do to apply for NSF or NIH funding, and put together a proposal, present it to a review board, and they get feedback on that. Lab courses, they take 4 significant lab courses, which are very project focused, and really with an eye towards the fact that most of our students, generally between 90 and 100%, will do research, sometimes for up to 3+ years, as well as summers while they're here. 4 of our students in the graduating class were first authors on publications as a result of that work. So the lab courses are really designed to kind of begin to develop that independent thinking. That's important. Oral and written communication skills, highly a focus throughout the curriculum. So they do at least 2 formal presentations that are videotaped and reviewed with a faculty member. They get peer and faculty review on those. A lot of writing, not always the favorite of students, but they get quite good at it by the time that they are done. And in addition to lab courses, all are required to take a course called Professional Communication Skills in chemistry, but they also learn to speak data. So Mathematica is used. I know MATLAB is kind of the engineering component, but chemistry, Mathematica is used throughout several lab courses in terms of analysis and presentation of data. Teamwork, it's a highly collaborative environment. Classes are small, students work together, but they also take a large number of courses, many of them outside of the science disciplines that are required. So again, starting to get that feel for communicating and teamwork skills with people beyond your discipline or who don't even have basic science knowledge. And then leadership skills. So we've got students who are many of our students in presenting their profiles of the graduating class just on Sunday, which I know Jillian and I were doing. They become significantly engaged both through coursework, but also their extracurricular involvement in significant ways, both in the Pittsburgh community and the Carnegie Mellon community, developing those leadership skills. So I don't want to hold up everybody else, but that's kind of an overview.
All right, Karen, thank you so much for all of that. Vincent, would you like to go next?
Yeah, happy to. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm Vincent Sokalski. I'm an associate professor in the material science and engineering department. And any opportunity to come on here and talk a little bit about my departments and my love and passion for material science, I'll jump on it. So thanks for joining. I'll just say a little bit about, I'm not going to talk too long. I'll say a little bit about the program and a little bit of what material science is. It's a field that's evolved quite a bit over the course of the past 50, 60 years, originally growing out of metallurgical engineering as kind of the central component. It's in time become significantly broader than that. We like to start, I teach the intro to material science class, and I like to start by reminding students that everything is made out of something. And so there's a place for material scientists in many disciplines. The sort of mindset that we drive home with students, and this really applies to research and or development, is this materials paradigm. So we talk about the materials tetrahedron, which has 4 vertices to it. And those are structure, properties, processing, and performance. And usually we start with, I'll start with some kind of a demonstration. And I like steel as an example. If you take a piece of steel, maybe it's iron with, I don't know, 0.5% carbon, something like that. Depending on how it's processed, I could give it to my 8-year-old and he could break it in half. Whereas if I process it differently, the strongest person in the world might not be able to. And so we drive home this idea that it's not just what something's made out of, but how is it processed and how is it arranged at the atomic level. So that sort of gives them the structure and properties and processing. And of course, the end goal is how is it applied? How does it perform at the end of the day? So, from a curriculum standpoint, and I guess I'm sort of speaking on behalf of the engineering college. So all of the first-year engineering students are exposed to different disciplines in engineering. In fact, they all take 2 different introductory MSc courses, as well as, of course, some chemistry and physics to help them, understand the fundamental science behind what they're doing. In the material science program, in the sophomore year, we really focused on materials basics, learning kind of the mathematical tools and techniques and concepts necessary to understand how materials behave. They'll learn about thermodynamics and structures and defects and many things that are important to material science. In the junior year, they focus a bit more and they spend time on experimental techniques, characterization tools. How do we actually examine the structure and properties of a material? And then the senior year is centered around design and solving a problem. And that's where they do the Capstone Project, where, and this is an important one, and I'm hopefully, we can have some dialogue about it. The Capstone Project is usually coupled with an industry partner and give students an opportunity to get their hands, get some hands-on experience with what would be something industry is trying to solve. And my feeling is that that's a mechanism for future employers to see students in detail problem solve and present. And I think that's a valuable interaction to have. Sort of a perhaps a rhetorical question, but an important one is how much does it cost an employer when they make a hire that ends up not being a good fit? And I think that's something, is a lot of value to employers to see how students are doing over some extended period of time in the lab and in their final year at CMU. So I certainly would welcome some feedback and discussion surrounding those final projects. And if anyone here has experience with them and suggestions, I'd love to hear it. But I think that's my quick snapshot. So I'll stop there, Anne Marie, and let things move along.
Okay, Vincent, thank you so much. Jillian, you want to tell us a bit about the physics department?
Sure. So I'm the director of the undergraduate program in the Department of Physics, much like Karen is in chemistry. So I'm also teaching faculty, and I'm the primary advisor for all of the undergraduate physics majors. One of the big strengths of our program, I think, is the flexibility that we have for our students in our curriculum. We have a very rigorous core that all physics majors take, but we allow students to specialize. And we have a variety of options for them to do so, including, for example, astrophysics or computational physics or applied physics, so that they can really tailor their STEM electives and even some of their physics electives to their area of interest. And I would say that over 95% of our undergrads do research at some point during their undergraduate career, whether it's with us in the department during the summer, during the academic year, while they're also taking classes, or taking part in external research experiences for undergrads at other institutions. So they have ample opportunity to flex and learn those research skills. And at times there are skills I want to kind of highlight that they're learning in those experiences that are not necessarily obvious from our curriculum. A lot of employers look at job ads and they're trying to place people in positions, and physicist is not always the first thought. And so I think that's maybe where engineering and chemistry has a bit of an edge. But most of my students that go into industry, their business cards don't say physicist, but they go on to use the technical skills that they've learned through their training as an undergraduate physicist, and sometimes even as graduate students eventually. Approximately half of our students go on to some type of advanced study, whether it's a PhD in physics or a related field. We have a number that go on and do a master's in engineering disciplines, but about half of our students enter the workforce directly, and the majority of them do work in technical industry. We're seeing growing numbers of students with skills that are leveraging positions in data science or software engineering, which may not, again, be the place where you think of a physicist going, but they really do have these skill sets because they're able to build up their skills both through the classes and through research. Our department is host to an NSF Artificial Intelligence Planning Institute. The application of AI is a great strength in our research community. And so even though our students may not have, for example, a minor in CS, they may have extensive experience in applying those skills to huge data sets, solving complicated problems. And that's a skill set that translates very easily, I think, between disciplines. Like in chemistry, we have a number of lab classes. So we also have opportunities for students to get hands-on practical experience collecting data, executing and designing experiments, and also presenting data to an audience. And our students who do research during the year also take part every year in an undergraduate physics research symposium where they present posters to the community. And so they get a lot of practice presenting their work and interpreting their results throughout their career. And I think, you know, with any physics program, you come out of the curriculum with strong critical thinking skills, with generally a strong physical sense of intuition. Depending on the discipline our students are working in, that can vary a lot, but our students, for example, on the applied physics track may take a number of engineering classes and have the design experience that is associated with those, while also having a lot of the fundamental science classes that can really complement that skill set. They also have very strong analytic skills. You don't get through our upper level classes without strong mathematical and analytic skills. And I think they really have quite a lot to contribute. And so I think what I'd be interested in talking about is where they might fit into your different organizations or in different roles where you may not have thought of placing a physicist in the past, because I really do think they have a lot to bring to the table if we can get them past those initial filters of required education that often block them from getting interviewed for specific positions.
Okay, Jillian, thank you so much. So now we've heard from all three of you, and I think that you represent together a great cross-section of our science curriculum here at Carnegie Mellon University. I invite our employer guests to turn on your cameras. If you are comfortable doing so, feel free to unmute. We would love to hear from you. And as we said, because it's a small group, we can just have an informal conversation. You are free to ask any one of these three panelists a question if you would like to ask something specific. And faculty members, if you have questions for the employers, please feel free as well. So does anyone have a question that you'd like to start with?
I don't have a question so much as a comment on Jillian's presentation there. My name is Jeff Chaplin. I work for the U.S. Geological Survey, and USGS does a lot of different things. I work in the water mission area, and so we work with a lot of water data. I'm a hydrologist, and what resonated with me was using the AI and working with large data sets. U.S. Geological Survey has a tremendous amount of data, water data, chemistry data, biological data in some cases, and you can really at times get lost in it. And so we're always looking for somebody who has the ability to manipulate large data sets. And I think that's true of a lot of industries. It certainly is of ours. So that resonated with me. And the other part of it was one of the main positions that we hire is hydrologist. And for whatever reason, two of the criteria for the hydrologist position is 2 semesters of physics and 2 semesters of calculus. And for folks that are coming through an environmental program, which is very typical of applicants to our positions, they may or may not have that. But somebody that's coming through as through a physics program or a chemistry program, they almost certainly would have those qualifications. So just because it has physicists attached to it, that wouldn't filter people out for us. It would probably add people to the pool.
Thank you for that comment. I hope when
Aaron.
you have.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just had a question. Caitlin Hacker, I'm with Heritage Environmental, or if you've heard of the Heritage Group. We're a privately owned, family-held company, been in business almost 100 years. And we are competing, our research group is competing with Eli Lilly and all the large corporations. So I kind of just want to know more about how to engage on this recruitment side for a company that we don't have a lot of branding right now, which we're trying to change that. But are there things that we can do to kind of hit those points for chemistry and even the material science side of things? And Jillian, I was interested in what you were saying too, because I don't think of that in our space. We deal with hazardous waste and chemicals and engineers and trying to figure out solutions for that and also the disposal methods. So if you guys have any suggestions for that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting issue that you raised, because I think some of the challenges for us is introducing students to the various opportunities that are out there. And chemistry, while the university as a whole is building up a pretty significant effort, it's not that it's new, but newer in the undergraduate curriculum space in environmental and sustainability studies. And so I know that I have a lot of chemists. It's a focal area. We've got faculty working in water purification. We have faculty working in atmospheric chemistry and pollution. And so our students have a pretty big interest in that area and sort of trying to figure out where they might fit within that space. So I think the Career and Professional Development Center, and certainly Rachel and Anne-Marie can speak to this, but I think within the departments as well as through the center, we are always really interested in providing opportunities to students to actually talk to people about what are jobs like, right? I don't think undergraduates in a lot of disciplines come out with a really strong feel for what's the day-to-day. So I do an undergraduate seminar program in chemistry. They do one each semester starting sophomore year, where I try to bring back a lot of alums. And that's one of the most common questions, like, tell me what your day is like, because they have a lot of misconceptions that they're afraid of jobs being, they want to exhibit creativity. They want to think about problems, right? Because we've all pointed to the areas where, as part of their training, that's something that they're interested in. They're worried about being asked to do the same thing every day, which I don't think is true of a lot of jobs, but I think it points to their lack of information about what they can expect from their work life. So I think any opportunity to engage, certainly in Zoom world, it's probably, a little bit easier to reach out, but if there are opportunities to come to campus now that we hope that things are going to stay a little bit more open, I think that face-to-face kind of engagement can be really significant. Rachel, for us, before the shutdowns, arranged for a tour at Covestro, a local company. And the students who went on that really came away with a much deeper understanding about what life was like there. And I think a lot more excitement about the possibilities. And so, I think there's lots of opportunity. I think it's what works for you. And, but I think there's a lot of excitement to providing that for students here.
And I just want to jump in and say, I know that our employer relations team would be happy to talk to you about those kind of opportunities and setting them up. So, I've made a note of that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Cause I think virtual for us is hard because we don't have the brand recognition. So anything in person would be great. So yeah, I'd love to continue that. Thank you.
Before we end, Rachel and I will be sure to put our emails in the chat. So if anybody wants to contact us directly to talk more about the Career Center, any kind of engagement opportunities, you're welcome to contact us.
Okay, I'm here at Levinson. We started a company 2 years ago with another friend of mine from Carnegie Mellon back in the 70s, and we called it Skibo Energy. And so we're looking for people to help us solve the renewable energy power generation systems. And Jacob is actually a chemical engineer, and we come back. We're coming from the engineering side. So, and to be honest, well, I'm a software engineer and my partner is a chemical engineer. Maybe some discussion on how we talk to scientists versus engineers. And the other idea going through my head is that, we've done some research on materials where our approach is to store heat into solid media. And so if we're looking for materials to get heat for storing a long period of time, days and weeks at a time. So the other idea would be to maybe sponsor some either probably undergraduate research in those areas. I don't know if there's a process for that. So I'll leave it at that if there's any ideas.
Well, I heard the word materials, Harry, so I feel like it gives me license to jump in, and I appreciate the question. I know I said it in my sort of preamble, but it's worth saying again. I'm of the mindset that engagement early on between particularly senior undergraduates and industry is is a valuable thing. And what you're describing in terms of finding the right material with whether it's a high heat capacity or something that can store heat energy for an extended time. I mean, that sounds tailor-made for even if it's not going to give the final result that's demanded by the application, it sounds well suited for some different studies that could be done in an undergraduate lab for a small group of senior material scientists to be looking at, and would give a mechanism to identify who the promising future employees might be. In terms of the mechanism, how what's the starting point for that? I personally am not involved in capstone projects, although I may be in the future. But typically, my understanding is that in the summer, towards the end of the summer, projects go out, and I don't know. I think the students get some say in what project they work on, but there will be a list of projects with an industry representative as sort of a technical mentor. Don't quote me on this. I don't actually know, but I think there's little or no cost to being involved in that program, as long as the project is suitable for some undergraduate students. They take these classes for credit. So I think that's one mechanism. I'll also add, and this relates back to Caitlin's question as well. I think there are students that really are craving that small company feel. Not everyone wants to go work for Intel or GE, and they have their passions too. I mean, a lot of students come to CMU, whether it's engineering or College of Science, with things they care about, and it's often the environment, and so sustainable materials. We teach a class on sustainable materials, and there are students who will go in that direction, even if the financial situation at a larger company might be more attractive. And so I do think that's but they're not as well advertised, of course, because it's harder for small companies. We heard that from Caitlin. So I think there is something there. And Harry, if there's a project, or you want me to put you in touch with our capstone teacher, I'm happy to help facilitate that.
Yes, that would be great. Materials is part of our problem, but I think we also have some chemical heat transfer type challenges also. So I don't know if there's are the capstones different between each of the different departments? You're one department.
Yeah, I imagine the structure of them is different, and it's something I haven't looked at myself in detail. It's a 2-semester long project. They take a capstone 1 and a capstone 2 in their fall and spring semesters, but the learning objectives and the outcomes and the how they're graded, et cetera, it probably looks different among departments, certainly between colleges, what that senior sort of final senior deliverable looks like. So
Yeah, our students start as early as their first year doing undergraduate research. So we don't have a capstone research experience, but usually a much more sustained. So it's usually, if we can connect you, we also teach a course in sustainable energy, and we've got faculty working in the materials aspect of energy. I know a lot of them, some are working in more light energy, solar, but there are various interests, and they have on occasion. I just had a student who just graduated where there was a partnership between someone at the Carnegie Museum that proposed a project, and the faculty member, they were able to partner and have an undergrad working in that area. So chemistry, we don't work as much with metals and ceramics. That's MSE, but we do work a lot in soft materials. And as I said, students, and I know it's true in physics as well, are engaged from very early on oftentimes through senior year. So there's some sustained opportunities for an ongoing project.
Yeah, and I would also just highlight that if you're company has the capacity. Our students are often seeking internships during the summer in lieu of a summer on-campus research experience. And I mean, the topic you described, I feel like there's a Venn diagram of the three departments where you sit in the middle, where all three of us overlap, because we do have strength in condensed matter within the department. And so our students, you know, some of them may have very strong skills from previous research experiences or from classes in materials characterization or sample development that I think could translate well into an environment like what you're describing.
Okay, all right. Well, this session helped me. I've used Handshake a little bit to find interns, and I probably haven't reached out to the your departments as much as the engineering side. So this is this has helped. So thank you.
I think it is noteworthy, sort of the cross section between engineering and science at Carnegie Mellon University. I don't know if any of the three of you faculty members would like to comment on that. Harry brought it up at the beginning of this question, and it just seems like something where we have a lot of people who maybe they major in engineering, but they're actually, you know, very into research, or vice versa.
I can.
Yeah, I think just, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, looking at faculty, you're going to see that overlap, Anne-Marie. So you're naturally going to see it in research projects. So in chemistry, we have faculty literally not with courtesy appointments, but joint appointments. So they're 50% in one department, 50% in another, with appointments in, we have 2 in chemical engineering, 1 in mechanical engineering, and 1 in biomedical engineering. So we really, and then others have courtesy appointments or reach out across to materials and other areas across campus. So certainly very interdisciplinary research interests. Sorry, Jillian.
Or no, I was just going to say, even some of our faculty, their training is not necessarily all, for example, from physics departments. We have faculty who worked in industry as applied physicists or as engineering physicists in multidisciplinary projects. And even at the undergraduate level, we have physics majors who do research in departments across campus. They're physics majors, but they're working on the Moon Ranger project. They're working with robotics. They're working on quantum computing problems, but they're working on it with a collaboration with ECE, not in our department. Or they're working in biomedical engineering. And so even at the undergraduate level, we are seeing our students take their skills into a range of different disciplines as they follow what excites them.
We have
I
about
don't know
5.
if there's time to ask, what are the deficits that you're seeing in new hires? Like if you were going to give us advice for things that you're looking for, but you're not able to find, whether it's soft skills or technical know-how. I think we've heard about the issue of big data. It's something we've been talking about a lot. We have faculty coming in, working a lot in AI, machine learning, a lot of overlap with big statistics. The dean of our college is a statistician and works in big data. So, but if there's anything you would want to say, gee, I wish, I'd love to hear it.
One thing that's become obvious to me is that most of the young graduates feel very comfortable with the computer and the computer analysis. And I've been very pleased that, you know, that they're just, they jump very quickly from the problem to a computer program and say, okay, well, here's how you would address that. And I think keeping that as a strength would be very good.
Yeah, I see that as a strength too. Computer issue or computer programming, R programming. A lot of students are coming out really skilled in R and working with big data. GIS Used to be an area that was a little bit of a weakness. Now pretty much anybody that comes out with a science degree or an environmental science degree anyway has GIS experience. I would say if there's any weakness that I see, and this isn't true of all students, of course, but on average, I guess the technical writing is where I would see a lack of experience, I guess I would say.
That's always been a challenge.
Yeah.
With technical people, but yes, I would agree with that too. And also my career, I found project management, recognizing that it does take a team of diverse people and some organization on getting everybody to work together. I come from the software side, and I've adopted the agile method, which is a lot of diversity and think small in terms of 2-week increments, but have that big vision of where you want to go.
Real quick, in addition, kind of tackling on the side of technical ability to present ideas. I think one thing that was lacking, at least for me, in my chemical engineering degree, so this might not be true for y'all's departments, but I think a bit more formal courses in statistics and not only the math behind it, but the use of statistics to describe ideas, describe results, I think would be valuable for technical writing.
And as somebody that's in more of a recruitment side, sorry, I was stuck in a wind tunnel outside, so inside now. But I started in customer service. I actually went to school for teaching, and then now I'm working with hazardous waste and sustainability and our research group and doing all of that. I think just speaking to the students, that finding an internship that might not be in their specific space is huge, because they may find something they really enjoy, or they can take that off their list. So I've seen where that can help on both sides. If they find something that's really interesting, that's fantastic. But if they find something they're on the fence of because it's not specifically where they want to go, I still want to encourage them to do that, because they could find an interest or a certification that they could use for that.
Well, thank you all. We're actually at the end of time for our session. I think this has been a really good discussion, and I thank everybody for participating. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. Rachel, you can do the same. If any of you have any questions or you want to be in touch, please feel free to do so. And thanks again for your participation.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.